Hello again everyone and welcome back to the channel. I'm down at the allotment on this very warm day. I've picked a very warm day to come down to the allotment and do this video, but I don't want to leave it any longer because we're getting through August really quick. Actually, it's going to be September before we know it. I said last week that I was going to do some seed sowing, so now I'm going to do some. It's like 28 degrees Celsius at the moment, so I'm sweating, but I've not really got anywhere else to do it outside of the greenhouse. But the vents are open, the door's open, we should be alright, I think. So what are we actually sowing today? We've got a few things. I'm not going too crazy because we've already got loads of beds filled up with crops. We're harvesting lots of stuff as well, and actually I've already sown and planted some stuff for winter already, although we are losing some of it. We have some brassicas for the winter. I've had to pull a few of them up. I think for the most part they're okay. So we're going to be sowing some all year round cauliflower just to cram in somewhere, I think, because the cauliflower did really well this year. I was really impressed with them. So I'm going to grow some more of those, overwinter them hopefully, and get a crop next spring. Fingers crossed. We can only try, can't we? I'm also going to be sowing another lot of beetroot, just in modules though. We've got some modules here. I'm going to be sowing them in these, and then I'm going to transplant the modules outside after. You can direct sow beetroot outside if you want, but I just prefer to get them off to a head start in modules so I can keep an eye on them. So I've got some of this golden beetroot here which I'm going to sow a few of, and I've also got some of the standard bolt hardy beetroot as well, which I'm going to sow. I'm also going to plant some spring onions. Again, I'm going to start them off in modules. I'm just going to sow a few in the module so they're in clumps, and then in the autumn I will plant them outside in the raised beds, or I may actually plant them in the raised beds in the polytunnel when I've cleared the peppers. That's what I did last year, and I had some lovely spring onions this spring from overwintering them. I've got the winter hardy spring onions, and I've also got some red spring onions as well. We're going to give them a go and overwinter them. I'm also going to sow some giant winter spinach. I mean, clues in the name really. It's a winter variety, so we're going to try some of them. I'm also going to sow some Lolorosa lettuce. This is a really nice winter variety. It can be grown at all times of year though, not just winter, but it's ideal for planting for winter growing. I'm also going to be planting some carrots as well. I'm just going to be planting them. I've got 3 of these buckets. These are 15-litre buckets. I've got 3 of them, and I've just filled them up with spent compost from the potato harvest. I'm not adding any nutrients in there because carrots don't need nutrients. If you've got a nutrient-rich soil with carrots, you can end up with loads of lush leafy growth, not much in the way of carrot root, or you can just end up with the carrot root forking and going off in different directions because they're looking for the nutrients. I've got raised beds outside that I've grown carrots in 3 years in a row now, and every year I've not added any compost or any nutrients. And this year I've had some amazing carrots outside. No nutrients added. Literally, I just sow them every single spring and they do really well. I've got early Nance, and I've also got some Autumn King carrots as well. Yes, they're probably going to be harvested as baby carrots for Christmas. We're going to keep the containers in the greenhouse on the bench here, so the growth will be much quicker, so they might do really well. I did this last year and I had some decent carrots for Christmas, so we're going to do it again and see what we get. So that's what we're sowing. Let's get into it. Okay, so I'm not going to go too crazy here. I'm just going to sow a module tray or 2 of each thing, and then the 3 buckets of carrots. I just want to make sure we've got some harvests to see us through the winter months if possible, and some of these will also crop next spring as well. I'm just trying to make sure I'm filling all the gaps in. So this is just multi-purpose compost, by the way. I've not sieved it or anything like that. Usually I would, but I think for these we're going to get away with it, to be honest. And it's a peat-based compost called Grow More, which I've used all year actually, and it's given some brilliant results. I've had no issues with it at all. That's just my preference. I found that peat-free composts aren't very good. I'm yet to find a good peat-free compost. Until then, I'm going to be using this, I think, until I find a good alternative. Okay, so I'm going to sow 2 trays of beetroot, I think, not too much. The beetroot's been really good this year, by the way. We've eaten quite a lot of it. It's been great. Now with these, I'm gonna sow Boldor, the golden beetroot, in one. I'm just making a little hole. I'm gonna put 2 or 3 seeds in each hole. Beetroot grows quite well in clumps of 2 or 3. And what I usually do is, when the beetroot gets to a good size, I'll harvest one from the bunch, and then I'll just let the remaining ones grow to a bigger size. That's what I've done for quite some time. And beetroot's a cool season crop as well, so it'll grow quite happily through the autumn months with no problems. They can grow actively in temperatures as low as about 10 degrees Celsius, so yeah, they do grow quite well through the autumn. Yeah, I'll just put 2 or 3 in each one there. You really can't beat some fresh homegrown beetroot. It is just something else. Honestly, it's just delicious. A completely different world to the pickled beetroot that you get in the supermarket. And they're so easy to grow as well. As long as you've got a well-draining soil, a site that gets a decent amount of sun, you know, a good few hours a day of sun. As long as you've got a soil that's good quality, well draining, like I said, but also a good bit of nutrients in there. You know, add some compost in there before you plant. You shouldn't really have many problems with beetroot. They can get a bit stressed when the temperatures get hot. I found that in the springtime. They were getting a bit stressed when we had some really warm days but also cold nights, so quite a few of them were bolting or prematurely going to seed. But when temperatures are a bit more consistent, they do quite well. I've got some of the boltardy beetroot here as well. I'm going to put a few of them in. They're just the standard purple ones or red ones. Are they red or are they purple? I mean, red onions aren't red. They're actually purple. Beetroot, would you say it's red or purple? I would say they're purple. Okay, so I've planted them about 1/2 inch deep. Put like 2 or 3 seeds in each module. It's alright if a couple more fall in there because, as I said, they grow quite well in clumps. So there we go. We just need to label them because, yeah, make sure we label them. And those can go over there. Okay, so that's beetroot done. Next we're going to do some cauliflower, I think. Yeah, we're going to sow some cauliflower. Yeah, usually I'd sieve the compost, but I think we'll get away with that. It's quite fine anyway. Should be okay. There's no large clumps in there. So we're just going to sow them in there. Depends on the quality of compost, to be honest. I mean, with the way compost is nowadays, you do end up with quite a lot of clumps in some of it. I bought some compost earlier this year, and it had loads of woody bits of material in it. It was actually a peat-free compost, and it was just full of wood chips. And I'm not talking about partly composted or composted wood chips. I'm talking fresh woody material. So, you know, it's no good, that, is it? You don't want that. So with the cauliflower, I'm just going to do 1 module tray. There's 12 here. 1 centimetre hole. They don't need to be very deep because they are small seeds. I love this variety. These, honestly, these are so good this year. We had some huge cauliflowers. Sadly, I only planted like 4 or 5 plants. I'm wishing I'd done more because they were just amazing. They were like the size of both my hands put together like that, some of them, they were brilliant. Usually they don't do very well, but we had a very sunny spring. Something like one of the sunniest springs on record. It was very sunny indeed. Broccoli did really well as well, actually. They were really good. We have clubroot in the same bed now though, so this is one reason why I'm planting some more brassicas, because we have lost some. Just as a backup, but also, to be honest with you, as I said, these are really nice as well. So I'm going to plant 2 seeds per hole. The reason being, that way I'll make sure that I've definitely got 1 cauliflower plant growing in each module. If 2 germinate, then I'll just thin them down to 1 per module. I'll take out the weakest one and leave the strongest growing in the module. Because if I were to just plant 1 seed per module, that seed might not germinate, and then I'm wasting time. I'll have to replant more seeds again and wait for them. So this way, I guarantee 1 per module. And brassica seeds are relatively cheap anyway. I mean, this packet of seeds was only like £1.50 or something like that. And you get a lot of seeds per packet. You get 225 seeds. If it was a fancy hybrid that's expensive, like some brassica seeds, like these clubroot resistant varieties, sometimes you only get like 30 seeds per packet, and the seed packets are like £2, £3, £4 sometimes. I wouldn't be doing this with those, because I wouldn't want to waste seeds. I'm just going to lightly cover it like that. And that's the cauliflower, nice and simple. I'm going to water these afterwards though. And today is the 12th of August, by the way. So we've only got a couple more weeks left of August, and then it's September. Oh my goodness. Hasn't this year flown? Honestly, it's flown so fast. Feels like the older I get, the quicker time goes. I'm 29 next January, and honestly, it feels like it's not even been long since my last birthday. Scary. Life goes by fast. So, okay, now I'm going to do spring onions. I'm going to sow a couple of modules of those, because there's not really any rush to harvest the spring onions. You know, some crops like lettuce and brassicas, you need to harvest them really when they're ready, otherwise they'll go past their best and they won't be very good to eat anymore. With the spring onions, you know, they can stay for quite a while, and if anything, they'll just grow bigger. In fact, I left some of them in the ground this year, and they actually grew to be like full-size onions. So, you know, if you don't pick your spring onions, they'll just grow and turn into a standard onion eventually. So I'm going to sow quite a few of them. That should be alright. We've got 24 cells there. And then we're going to put maybe 3 or 4 seeds in each one. Just going to make a little hole. Planting these about 1/2 centimetre deep, about the same as the cauliflower, because they're quite small seeds as well. I'm actually going to do 1 tray of the white Lisbon, which is a good winter hardy variety. These are actually the same seeds I planted last year. I don't even think they'll be viable. They might have gone past their best. Onion seeds don't last very long in storage. They only last about a year or so, but we're going to give them a go, you know. We'll give them the benefit of the doubt. We'll put a good few in each one actually, because I don't expect the germination rates to be very good with these. If they don't germinate, we'll just sow some more. I think it's no big deal. Now, I would be planting some dwarf beans today, but I already sowed some of them a few weeks ago, and there's actually a bed of them outside now. They're just seedlings at the moment, but I'm not planting any more beans. Blimey, no. think we've got enough. We've got one bed of dwarf beans which we've already been harvesting. We've got a bed of climbing cobra French beans and runner beans, and then we've got a new bed of dwarf beans, the second sowing. So we've got more than enough beans to see us through the next few months, I think. You can also plant broad beans in August and September, even October, or before the ground freezes really, and then overwinter them. You can start them off direct outside if you want, or you can start them off in 9cm pots like this. Fill them up with compost and stick one in each one. Get them up to a good size and plant them outside if you want. If you've got a problem with rats, you might opt for that option. The reason why I'm not planting broad beans is because we just don't really like them. I've never been a fan of broad beans for some reason. But if you're somebody that wants to grow them, you can plant them in August. Okay, that's the white Lisbon. I'm probably best labelling these because we've got red ones and then we've got white ones. And these can grow in clumps just fine. I'll have a clump of onion seedlings like that in there, and I'll just remove the whole clump. I'll stick them out in my raised beds, or in my case it'll probably be the raised beds in the polytunnel again, because they did quite well last year, like I said. Right, so we're going to do the onions, which are red. There's a Rosa Lunga Differenze. I'm probably pronouncing that wrong. These were sent to me by Ali from My Rusty Garden in Canada. And yeah, we're going to give them a go. We'll put, again, a few in each one. I'm not too sure if this is a winter variety or not, but we're going to see if they work. We can only try, can't we? They'll either work or they won't work. And there's only one way to find out, and that is to sow them. Spring onions. Okay. So that's the white spring onions, and that is the red spring onions sown. What we're going to sow next. So now we're going to sow some of this Lolla Rossa lettuce and spinach. It's all a gamble really, isn't it? They might not work, but if they don't work, it doesn't really matter, you know. It is what it is. The one way to guarantee that we're not going to get any harvest through the winter is by not sowing anything. So at least by sowing something, we're giving ourselves the best chance of some harvest. That's what I always say. It's better to do something than to do nothing. So, wow, it's very warm in here. What is it in here at the moment? 33 degrees, it's like being on holiday. I'm not doing anything else other than this. Nothing more strenuous than seed sowing, because I'll just have a massive sweat on. So with the lettuce seeds, very small seeds, so we're going about 1/2 centimetre again, just like with the brassicas and the onions. I'm just going to do 12 of the Lolla Rosso. This is probably my favourite variety of lettuce, by the way. It holds quite well as well. It doesn't bolt very quickly. It does hold for quite some time without bolting, and it's just such a lovely crisp variety. I'm just going to put 2 or 3 per module, and just like with the cauliflower, I'm going to thin them down to 1 healthy plant per module, because there's literally like hundreds of seeds in this packet. You know, these seed companies are never stingy when it comes to lettuce seeds, because you get so many lettuce seeds from plant when they produce seed. Let's not forget the labelling. Okay, and finally we're going to sow some of the giant winter spinach in the module as well, and then we're going to do the carrots. In a couple of days I'm going to plant some Christmas potatoes as well. We're going to risk it for a biscuit. We are probably pushing our luck a little bit with those, because 2 years ago I actually planted some Christmas potatoes in August, and they got blight in October, and we ended up with itty bitty bitty little tiny potatoes for Christmas. That is the yield. I have nothing to say. It's quite embarrassing actually. Yeah, but we're going to try growing some again this year. This growing season is much different to previous growing seasons. It's much drier, a heck of a lot drier actually than normal. So the spinach seeds, I'm going to go about 1 centimetre deep, because they are bigger seeds. About the same size as the beetroot seeds actually. One of the healthiest vegetables out there, spinach. You've got to have a bit of spinach in your diet. So we'll just put a couple of seeds per module. Again, I will be separating these as well. I probably won't thin them down, I'll probably just separate these. I may grow them in this small polytunnel once I've removed the tomatoes, or I may plant them outside, I don't know. We'll see. Wherever we've got room, we'll plant them. I'm sure we'll find room when we start clearing beds. I'm hoping that the beds will be ready to clear by the time these get to a good size. I'm sure they're gonna really shoot up with all the good weather we're having right now. It's supposed to be 20 odd degrees Celsius for at least another week. So these will germinate in just a matter of days really. It won't take very long. Now I'll just emphasise, you can sow these outside direct if you want. I just like to start them off in modules so I can keep an eye on them. They're in a protected environment, away from the pests. I just have much more success when I do it this way. But don't feel inclined to do this. You can start them off direct if you want outside in your beds. So they're planted about 1 centimetre deep. We'll label those as well so we don't forget what's what. I've done that too many times in the past. I've planted stuff, I thought, right, yeah, I'll remember what everything is. But then it turns out I've got different varieties of the same vegetable, and then I don't know what's what. I've done that so many times in the past. We're going to sow the carrots in the buckets. We don't want to go overboard. I mean, let's be honest, we've all been there, haven't we? We've all sown too many crops and then not been able to care for them all, or we've gotten too much and we don't know what to do with it all. Okay, so to be honest with you, I'm just winging this. Like, this is literally just spent compost from the potato buckets. We had a good potato harvest. That was a couple of weeks ago, but the compost, there's nothing wrong with that at all. It's quite loose. Usually I'd put sand in with my carrots. The beds outside, dedicated to carrots, have lots of sand incorporated into them. But last year, when I grew carrots, I just did this. And we had some pretty decent small carrots, but they were quite nice for Christmas still, and we enjoyed them. So, I'm hoping Early Nance, being an early variety that grows quite quick, I'm hoping they grow quick and give us a crop for Christmas. So what I'm going to do here, I'm actually just going to sow just a few in. I'm not going to do too many, to be honest. I've only put about 15 holes in there because I want some relatively decent sized carrots, I think. Now I am going to sow 2 per hole, and then I'll thin them down to 1 once they've germinated, because I don't want to have to re-sow these. We'll thin them down. So remembering which hole you've stuck seeds in, because they're so small you can forget which hole you've stuck seeds in. Okay, that should do. I'm just going to lightly cover them over. We'll give them a water in a bit when we water the rest of the stuff. Yeah, I'm not doing too many in these buckets because the closer they are together, the less room they have to grow and the smaller the crop will be. I'm only going about ½ centimetre deep as well because they're quite small seeds. You don't want to plant them too deep. So this is early Nance, but I'm going to sow some of the Autumn King as well in this last bucket. I'm just going to do 1 bucket of those, like that. And I'm going to leave them unlabeled. No, I'm not. No, I'm not. I'm going to label them. That would be a silly idea. I said that a few minutes ago. Let's not do that again. So this year I've actually sown quite a few varieties of carrot. I've got Sweet Candle, got the usual Early Nance, and I've also got some mixed ones as well. I've got some of the purple ones, yellow ones, white ones, different varieties. The Sweet Candle ones are probably my favourite because they are so sweet, as the name would suggest. And the roots are really clean as well. We've not had any carrot root fly. What's that again? Touch wood. We've not had any of that so far, which is very weird. Usually we do. I'm not complaining though. Okay, so that's the Early Nance there. I'm just going to sow 1 bucket of Autumn King. Oh, it's scorching. Need to make the most of it though, because it won't be long before it starts cooling down again. September. Things will start cooling down through September. The only thing I like about winter is it gives us a bit of a break. It's a very cold, in the UK it's just cold and wet and miserable. There's no nice scenic weather like places in Europe and America where they get nice snowy scenes. In the UK, unless you live away from the coast and high up into the inland areas or up in the hilly areas, it's just wet and horrible. We don't really get much snow. So winter isn't my favourite time of year. My other half, she loves autumn. She loves all the coziness of autumn. Yeah, I don't mind the cosy autumn vibes. My apologies for that, guys. It did cut off suddenly when I was sowing the last bucket of carrots because the camera was getting too hot. But it's fine now. I've let it cool down. We're just going to go in with the water and give these a splash of water. These should germinate very, very fast. Same with the carrots as well, give them a splash of water. And then I'll just come in here and check on the soil moisture. I don't want to give them too much water, but they'll dry out very quick with all this hot weather, so I'll probably have to come back in a day or two and give them another bit of water. If they dry out whilst them seeds are germinating, I will lose them, so it's important that we keep an eye on the soil moisture whilst not drowning them. Striking that balance just right really with watering. Not too much, but enough. So there we go. I'm quite proud of myself for managing to do that. It's very warm, but we've got it done now. That's our August seed sowing done. That should be alright, I think. I don't think I'm going to do much more than that. That should do. We've got some lovely Lola Rosso lettuce to plant out hopefully in a few weeks time and hopefully over winter. We've got some spring onions which we're just going to transplant the whole module into some raised beds and overwinter them. We've got some cauliflower which hopefully I can overwinter outside, and then that will hopefully give us a harvest next spring. I've also got some more sowings of beetroot in clumps. I'll just transplant the whole module outside when they get to a decent size. And we've also got some spinach as well, which I'm also just going to transplant that outside in another month or so. And then we've got 3 buckets of carrots. I've not sown many carrots in them. I've left quite a bit of space in between each carrot because I want to try and get them to a good size if I can. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed today's video. I know you guys like your seed sowing videos and stuff, so I thought I'd get this one done today. There's still quite a few things you can sow in August. If you watched my seed sowing video, there's many more things than what I've sown here as well. It's just I've not got the space to plant more stuff than this really. To be honest, I'm pushing me luck with all this stuff. In the next video, I'm going to plant some Christmas potatoes. So make sure you keep an eye out for that. If I've already uploaded it by the time you're watching this video, I will leave a card at the end of this video so you can just go directly to it. But if it's not there, then I've not uploaded it yet. So remember to like, comment, subscribe if you haven't already. Liking and commenting really helps the algorithm, so big thank you for doing that. Thank you for the support, really means a lot. And I'll see you in the next one. Happy gardening and stay safe.